So today I'm wondering about pain. This is the podcast Wondering to Work, and this is Josh Wagner. Today I'm going to be wondering about pain. I was wondering about it yesterday on the way to work. I usually film these on Tuesdays on the way to work, and as you can see, traffic's not going very fast. So I was going to wait until the other side of traffic, but that's just where I am today. This is why I can do this kind of thing. Anyway, so about pain, I was thinking about it, and I'm reading a lot of Stoicism these days, which is kind of interesting, and they don't talk about avoiding pain, but they talk about embracing pain, like it's a good thing. And I was thinking about, we have so many problems with pain these days, and people addicted to all sorts of things to get rid of pain. We are pain averse in this culture. We don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like being in painful situations. And I don't know about you, but I tend to try and run the other way. In fact, I try to run the complete opposite way into doing things that make me feel good. Now, I'm not putting down things that make you feel good. That's a whole different podcast. We'll talk about pleasure in another one. But we're going to talk about pain today, only because I was wondering about it yesterday on the way to work. And pain is a couple of things. Pain is not bad. Pain doesn't feel good, but it's not bad. And there's a difference between something being good and feeling good and something being bad and feeling bad. So I think that that's a really good distinction to make, because pain is not necessarily bad. It doesn't feel good. It feels bad, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's all sorts of different kinds of pain. We can talk about that for just a brief second. There's emotional pain, and there's physical pain, and there's hunger pains, and there's growing pains. There's confusion, there's sadness. There's all sorts of different emotional things that can go on and physical things. And I read this book a few years ago by a guy named Les Femi. And I really recommend it. I think it's called Open Focus Brain or Open Focus Mind. I can't remember exactly what the title was, but he actually has a couple books about pain, and he's a cognitive behavior therapist and talks about pain. And one of the things that he really talks about is sort of embracing the pain, or sort of giving attention to the pain. That pain is something that's calling your attention because it needs attention. Like, it's calling your attention to it because it needs attention. So, like, if I have a broken leg, I know that leg needs attention because the pain is telling me, get attention to it now. If I get stung by a bee, pay attention to it now. If I have some kind of, and sometimes when it comes to like emotional trauma or emotional pain, we're not always aware of it because we have these internal defense mechanisms that can kick in, and so we can sort of repress it and suppress it. You can ignore pain, particularly emotional pain, but emotional pain tells you that there's something that needs to be resolved as well. Maybe it's some trauma in your past, maybe it's some confusion, maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's a loss of a job, maybe it's a disappointment. Pain is telling you something, and so wherever your pain is in your life, that's what needs attention. Now, I'm not saying give it so much attention that you become a victim or anything. We'll talk about that in a whole nother thing. Or your pain becomes the thing you identify with. And that's another dangerous thing, is sort of the opposite of ignoring your pain, is completely identifying with your pain. Like, that's all you are. And I know people like that too, where that's all they are, is woe is me, and I have this ache and this pain, and I have this sadness, and and that's who I am. And I'm not trying to put down people that have chronic pain or anything. What I'm warning against, and I've done this before myself, I'm absolutely guilty of this, but like, the pain becomes the thing that you identify yourself with. You ask somebody how they are, and the first thing they talk about is how bad they feel about something. Now, I've done that too when I've been in periods of feeling bad about things, like, how are you? Well, I'm not doing enough. If a friend or a family member asks me, someone who really knows me, I can be honest with them, because you tend not to be honest with people you don't know, right? You have this front-facing face, and Lord knows I've had it, where I didn't feel good, and I didn't tell people, but when it comes to our pain, it's something that needs our attention, not our identification. I think that's really, really important to distinguish between those two things, between our needing to give attention to what's causing our pain versus identifying with our pain. Really important, because the second you start identifying with your pain, the funny thing happens, you're going to seek out more pain. If I identify with being a Star Trek fan, which I do, I tend to seek out Star Trek because it's part of my identity. If pain is part of your identity, you're going to seek out pain. Consciously, you're going to seek it out, or unconsciously you're going to seek it out. You're going to find ways to hurt yourself. You're going to find ways to get in bad emotional situations over and over again because this is just who I am, but that's not what it is. So how do you pay attention to pain? I think that's a hard question because it depends on the kind of pain that you're talking about. If it's physical pain, obviously go to the doctor. How many people, particularly men, are bad at this, but I know it probably happens to women as well, but they have a serious pain coming on and they don't go to the doctor because they're just going to walk it off. That's what we've been taught to do is don't even focus, don't even worry about the pain, But the pain is telling you something, and if it's a severe enough pain, doesn't go away in enough time, go freaking get it taken care of. There's plenty of people, and probably one of the things that is a problem, like my dog. I have this great dog, Benji. I think sometimes he gets into pain, like when he jumps off the bed the wrong way. Like I can just tell her he does something. For Benji, my dog, pain is not this thing that's an existential crisis. He doesn't go and, oh my gosh, my paw hurts. My whole life is over. He just, who knows what he thinks. It's just, he walks on it lightly. He gives it attention. When we get into painful situations physically, it becomes an existential crisis. Oh my gosh, I'm having this heart palpitation. Oh my gosh, there's this lump. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? It could be nothing. How many people have gone to get biopsies and it turned out to be okay? Of course, lots of people go to biopsies and it turns out to be cancer. You got to pay attention to the pain. And the problem, of course, with the physical pain is it's a double whammy because it causes not only the physical pain, but like the existential crisis. Like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? Benji, my dog, does not say, what does this mean when he hurts his paw? He just walks on it lightly. So that's the first thing is when it comes to physical pain, get it checked out. When it comes to the emotional pain, be honest. I've done a lot of work with empathy training and I've taken a lot of classes, read a lot of books on it. And the best way to deal with painful emotions, and we'll talk about this in another podcast, the best way to deal with painful emotions is to pay attention to it. Give it attention. Again, don't identify with it, but give it attention. Give it some, like, okay, I'm feeling like crap today. I'm feeling angry. Acknowledge it, admit it. When you acknowledge negative emotion, it tends to cut it in half. Now, I didn't come up with that. That's Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication, compassionate communication, that kind of thing. But it's true. Whenever I've been dealing with other people and I acknowledge their pain, it tends to cut their pain in half. When I do it with myself, and of course that's hard because sometimes the biggest person I hide my feelings from is myself because I don't want to feel the pain, right? You don't want to feel that. You want to avoid pain. I mean, I do it too. You do it too. But when I say it out loud or write it down or tell another person, whether that's your bartender, your therapist, your pastor, whatever it is, your wife, your husband, it tends to cut it in half. It tends to take the energy out of that particular feeling of pain. And underneath it, and again, we'll talk about this, a painful emotion means you're not getting something that you need. It means you didn't get something that you need. And one of the keys, one of the remedies to that is to figure out, like, what is it that I need? Like, if I got this, what would I need to feel better right now? Not what I want necessarily, but what I need. There's a difference between those two things as well, which again, different podcast. So pain is not necessarily a bad thing. Avoiding pain is a bad thing. And identifying with pain is a bad thing. The number one thing you can do with pain is so counterintuitive to our culture, and I don't like to do it either. I have to really remember to be conscious and mindful about it, is to actually, okay, my foot hurts. Okay, I got to go get this checked out. Okay, I'm feeling bad. Okay, I'm angry. Okay, and maybe it could be just that you're tired. It could be that that you've been hurt by somebody. It could be something very minor, something very serious. Emotions are very, very funny. And pain is a particularly funny emotion because it's not typically something you can actually control. So that's what I was wondering about today. I was wondering about pain, wondering about, I was wondering about that yesterday. Like, I have my own pain, you have your own pain. I don't know what your pain is, but we all have to deal it the same way. Give it attention. Don't avoid it. Don't identify with it. All right. Follow me at Wondering to Work, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and Instagram. And I'll see you next time on the way to work. See ya. Bye.